Hey guys, it's just me hanging out with my two starters up in my schoolroom for the kids with my fabulous, green screen. I'm kidding, I'm just upstairs. But I am hanging out with my starters because today's burning question is, am I ready to bake bread? Like the actual bread that goes, big stuff, the big breads, the artisan loaves, the sandwich loaves, the French bread, the whatever else you want to make with bread. So the question is, are you ready? So are you ready? No, I'm kidding. How to tell if your starter is ready is kind of like a tricky question because so many people, what I'm afraid of is that you're going to get super excited and you're going to be like, I'm day 5, I'm going in, it's bubbly, we're doing this. And then it doesn't work out, which I've talked about before. You can make breadcrumbs. But I don't want you to get hopes up going, that's it. I've been in it for 5 days. I am ready. It is ready. We're going to do this. It doesn't work out. And then you abandon it. I don't want you to abandon sourdough. I love sourdough. Please don't abandon it. So I would like you to give it a little bit longer. 10 days. Typically I think it goes it takes usually about 2 weeks to really get a good, strong one going on. Keep trying because again, it takes about 2 weeks to go ahead and get started. Some people even say up to a month. But there is a difference, so I thought I would kind of talk about the difference. And at the end of the video, I'll show you kind of what it looks like. There's still a definite different smell flavor. This guy is coming along. He doesn't smell like my kid's volcano at a science experiment anymore, like the paper mache. And it is starting to turn more sweet and kind of sour, and it is changing, which is kind of exciting to see that going on. There are lots of bubbles in here. These were fed like 7-8 hours ago, so they've kind of already did a little bit of rising and already are going back down, so they're not doing much. But there's bubbles. This one is more thick. And again, at the end of the thing, it's pretty thick. I'm pretty tempted to even try something with it just to see where we're at and stuff. But this one right here, it's more watery, and I mix them about the same. And yeah, it was just like, woo, baby, you got the smell going on with this one. But it's a little bit different. There's a lot more bubbles. This one is thicker with bigger bubble size, but less bubbles. So there is still a bit of a difference. And I know that this guy works out great here. So I'm going to still go work on this guy here, building him up for a couple days. And then I'm going to make my sandwich loaf recipe that I have online that I'm actually going to make in my kitchen and then show you guys exactly how to do it. Because that is probably the best recipe to start a bread type of thing with instead of like a pizza or a tortilla or something like that with the discard and the easier stuff. So the sandwich loaf to me is the best one to start with, and I'll talk about that one, and I'll really sell you on it because I really love that recipe. That was a recipe that I've adapted from Melissa K. Norris, so I appreciate that. So you gotta go 2 weeks, and I need to see lots and lots of bubbles. A lot of times they say, okay, so I originally started to here, it should double within 4 hours and then go back down, and you need to do that several days in a row, and then go ahead and try some type of bread product. So I think that's pretty much my answer, is just make sure it's getting towards 10 days and beyond, and that it's doubling pretty good. And I will say that doubling thing that people talk about, like sometimes this one doesn't even double, but yet I can still get all of my loaves going just fine and big as normally is what they do. So it's, that's not like a hard and fast rule either. I think that's the whole thing about sourdough, is that it's so unique to everyone's kitchen and environment. And like the temperature, and not even just like the temperature in your house. Like if I have it at 70, you think, oh, 70's decent enough, right? But it's so cold outside, and like everything is just cooler compared to the summer where everything is hot and humid. That's when things get out of control. When you're baking stuff, you got to be careful with your timing, because that humidity and stuff like that and that heat really makes things rise a lot quicker than it does during the winter time. But these are all really cool things about how this works and how your kitchen is going to be different than mine, and all those ones that you see online that you're comparing yourself to, which I've said, please don't do that. Please don't do that, because it really is just all about you, your kitchen, and what works for you. So we're looking for lots of bubbles, consistent rising and falling. That smell is going to change. So do another sniff test, because it is, this is woo, like that's woo, and this is like, oh, that's kind of nice, but this one's woo. So you want more woo in it. And so that's the stuff we're looking for. We're getting there. I'm so proud of you. You guys are trying so hard and doing a good job. Don't give up on it yet. We're gonna make some sandwich loaves pretty soon, which will be bread. In the meantime, make lots of yummy discard stuff. Show me your pizza. Show me your tortilla wraps or your muffins. A lot of people go for sweets and stuff like that. I typically kind of stay away from lots of sugar, so I kind of just do you know, like the pizza dough. Good, lots of stuff you can use it for. So keep falling in love with it, and I'll see you guys when we make some sandwiches.